Khadija, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Well, let me start with just asking you a very simple question. For a lot of foreigners abroad, the appointment of Mehriban Alieva is, I think, is very similar to some kind of a House of Card plot from the TV show, very popular. But at the same time, a lot of people keep asking whether or not there is a base, popular base for this appointment, and whether or not the country is, in general, accepts this move, which by some critics is described as a first step to building a monarchy.
Well, actually, it's in fact there is a monarchy in Azerbaijan because the power has already been inherited from father to son, and it's just they are making it de jure monarchy. And do people accept it? Actually, do people have a choice? Because people are very scared here, and they don't believe in any result of any protest in this country, because there were some protests in regions in Baku city about regarding the social problems before each elections, before the referendum, and they all, even the sanctioned rallies have been suppressed, and like dozens, even hundreds have been arrested after each rally. So people are very scared, and basically there is no room for activity of civil society, and it's basically the stagnation in the civil society results the silence to this move. Yes, Mehriban Alieva had been doing some charity, but people also understand that the source of the money for these charity actions were corruption, and people do understand that this is not a democracy. This is not a democratic development, but do they have choice? That's a question.
Khadija, also, would you please help us to understand a bit of the background of this situation, because this appointment comes right after the constitutional referendum that has actually allowed this to happen. But the question here is whether or not this appointment and constitutional referendum helps to strengthen regime, or is it a sign that regime is so scared of maybe internal, external developments, so they try to grab as much power as possible?
Okay, let me explain you. Our constitution had been changed in the past decade. It had been changed. Actually, past 15 years, it had been changed 3 times, and every time the referendum served to cement the power of Alievs. In 2002, they changed the referendum to make sure that prime minister gets the power if president falls ill or somehow is absent. Later that year, like within a year, the Heydar Aliyev got sick, and he appointed his son a prime minister after not being seen alive for weeks. He had been, so the order came from Turkey, hospital in Turkey, that Ilham Aliev had been appointed as a prime minister. Then Ilham Aliev, there were rigged elections in 2003, and he became a president. And he was welcomed by world powers, including the United States. So it worked well. Then in 2009, they changed a constitution, lifting the limits for the presidential terms, which allowed Ilham Aliev to run for presidency for the 3rd time. And now they lifted the age limit and introduced the vice president positions to make sure that power stays in family. So Aliyev Senior, Aliyev Junior, and now with Mehriban Alieva, they are making sure that power stays in the family, which means that we are not speaking about the ruling team in Azerbaijan. We are speaking about the ruling family. There is no one else beyond the family they could trust the power. So that's what we have here. Even the corruption investigations show that most of the wealth in the country is concentrated within one family. And that shows that Aliyevs are not ready to share either power or the wealth of the country, even with the inner circle in the power.
Khadija, I will end with one question, which is more about the foreign perspective or foreign reaction. And you've been targeted by the Azerbaijani state herself. You've been imprisoned, and now this week we had this horrible news about other prominent journalist and blogger Mehman Husseinov, who's now imprisoned on defamation charges. But the thing that strikes the most, that there is a lack of attention or even international condemnation when it comes to all those continuous violations, not only of human political rights, but also when it comes to, for example, questionable referendum last year. Why do you think that, for example, European Union or Council of Europe are not so vigorously active in condemning those acts, or even talking about possible sanctions or any instruments of influencing the increasingly authoritarian regime?
That's a very relevant question, because there is a revolving door of the prison in Azerbaijan that, they release one and then they arrest two, they release more, then they arrest even more. And that's because the world tolerates the system that imprisons people for their views and for their criticism, because the world has been tolerating all these anti-democratic moves of the government. We haven't seen much response from the executive powers. So we have seen some moves from the US Congress. Congressmen called for enforcing Magnitsky Act globally, including Azerbaijan, but then we have executive powers, the State Department and the White House being, in best case, being silent about the issues in Azerbaijan, including the referendum. When the referendum has passed, the State Department's reaction was that that was a will of the people. There was no voting here. There was no debate here regarding referendum. And the mild reaction of the world democracies, and that was Obama's period, that was when Obama was a president. Now we have even less expectations from. So why wouldn't Ilham Aliyev do that? If the world is silent, if he is still welcome in European clubs, he goes to Europe, he gets welcomed by the European politicians. They are discussing the world affairs with him. They are discussing the oil pipelines and so on. So why wouldn't he do that? What would stop him? So that's an issue. And now we are facing situation in the world when the world democracies are facing similar problems to Azerbaijanis. And that's a key, when you tolerate authoritarian regime and these authoritarian events in your neighborhood, then you get immunity to that, and you basically it becomes part of your lifestyle as well. So you embrace these methods, and then you shake hands with dictators, and then you have dictator on your own top.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we have to leave it here because of lack of time, but I really appreciate you joining us and trying to explain us the recent development with the more authoritarian tendencies in Azerbaijan. Thank you, Khadija.
Thank you.